and I'll never back down. In the middle of the ring is where I lay the smack down. Against all odds, I will always prevail. So when you step to me, it's like hell in a cell.
Greetings and salutations, this is Christopher Daniels. I'm talking to my main man Delzinski right now. Any video game show, any video game channel, any YouTube channel called Vintage Shizzle is indeed hashtag Daniels approved.
Yo, alright guys, it's Delzinski here and welcome to a We Talk special, because today I am joined by ICW's and professional wrestling's global hero, Joe Hendry. Welcome, Joe. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How's yourself?
I'm very good, and it's absolutely awesome for you to join me today here on We Talk. So I'm very happy indeed to have you as part of the We Talk clan.
Good to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So today we're going to kind of have a bit of a chat with Joe about what's going on with him inside British wrestling. And then we're going to just kind of get cracking into wrestling in general. So we're going to talk about the buzz that's going on within the industry. Actually, Joe made an appearance on WWE TV, so we're going to talk about that as well. And Elimination Chamber and the Austin podcast as well, because there was lots of interesting and controversial things going on there as well. So, Joe, how's things with you in ICW and British wrestling? What's going on with you at the moment?
Yeah, things are great. I mean, this is the thing. I've actually only been in the business I started in 2013, so to come from a point where I was just kind of watching it all from a couch, and then to be actually doing it, and at this level, it's pretty nuts, but it's fantastic. I'm enjoying the challenge. I'm learning, so much as I go along, and it's just I'm absolutely loving it. And I really feel like with wrestling, like I've got something here that I'm totally passionate about, but I feel that I kind of know what I'm doing and where I want to go, and I just feel that with hard work, things are starting to happen. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah, and we were talking before we went on today onto We Talk, and we were saying that you got a pretty chock-a-block weekend this weekend. This podcast is going out on Wednesday, but you got a pretty busy weekend now, and then last weekend you had a really chock-a-block weekend. So business is really good for yourself at the moment.
Yeah, it is. I mean, today, we're recording on the Friday. I've actually got a rare Friday off. Cool to rest a little bit, but I just finished work for the week. Then tomorrow I'm going to defend my Reckless Intent heavyweight title in Livingston, which is just outside Edinburgh, my hometown. And then I'm going down to be a part of the big Wrestle Talk NGW show, which is just, it's phenomenal to be a part of that company right now. Very excited about it. So it's myself and Marty Skrull versus Grado and Justin Sizem, which is, that's a big deal for me, because I see Grado as pretty much the top guy in British wrestling right now, and some people will agree with me. Some people will stab me for saying that. Facts. I go into work and I've got everyone asking me, "Do you know Grado? Do you know Grado?" And every wrestler in Britain is going to know the agony that we all feel when we're asked that question. So hopefully I'm going to be able to put Grado on the bench for 3 months at least.
Ooh.
To give us a little bit of the shine here.
That is fighting talk right there.
Yeah, it is indeed.
I mean, I saw Grado at, I've seen Grado a couple of times. Obviously saw him at the ICW show that I went to in Camden. And I also saw him as well at an FPW event, which were very different styles for Grado to perform in. And it is interesting, because it's almost like you've got that love or hate him, and it's kind of trying to work out what his shtick is, because some people they can't. It's like Marmite, basically. That's what it is. But I found it interesting to see the different styles of Grado, because the FPW event was more generated to a family audience.
Yeah.
And then the ICW event obviously is a little bit more extreme, and it kind of rises to the occasion of both. So it's going to be a tough challenge.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's not a super athlete, but the guy is talented. The guy's got brilliant timing. He's extremely funny, and he knows what he's doing. He's a lot smarter than his character lets on.
And you got a good partner as well in Marty Skrull, because he's absolutely phenomenal.
He is indeed.
So yeah, so very good. I will leave links as well to all the details that we're talking about as well, so you can check out the details going on for Joe as well. ICW for me is fantastic. I love the product that ICW have created.
Yeah.
I went for my first ICW show, as I said, in Camden, and it just kind of blew me away. The atmosphere, I think, is like no other wrestling show that I've been to. The crowd is just electric, and all you guys just entertained to the max. From the start of the show, I remember yourself coming out, and just the commentary, everything, the build.
I think that was the night I believe I said that my policy on women was the same as my policy on championship titles, which is what did I say again? It was like it's the same as Ultimo Dragon's policy on championship titles, having at least 27 on the go at the same time.
Well, that's the best policy to have.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I was thoroughly entertained, and I loved the ICW event, and they've got some major talent there for a long time, like obviously yourself. But Drew Galloway as well, who's really kind of taken over since departing the WWE.
Well, this is the thing. Like, it was only until I had a conversation with Drew about this, I didn't actually realize it until he spelled it out for me. I got the opportunity to wrestle Drew for the first time in Belfast for a company that I worked for over there, and that was kind of the first time I'd kind of had a chat to him one-on-one, and he was basically saying that, I mean, if you think about the 3 titles that he's got just now, he's got the ICW, the Evolve, and the Dragon Gate titles, is that correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and basically what he's doing is he's going all over the world and defending them in basically lots of different territories. And if you think about it, he's doing, this is what he's doing is it's a homage to what Ric Flair did, traveling around all the territories defending his titles. And I think that's a pretty cool concept.
It is. And it's amazing when you look at it that obviously Drew, when he was in WWE, he was in like 3-man band and stuff. It wasn't really the Drew that we see now. So it's nice that he's been able to have that creative direction for himself now, and he's managed to transition that across any territory that he goes to. So when you say like he goes to TNA, I think they've given him the freedom of what he's had on the independent scene.
I think the thing about Drew is you have to look at him as an example of what to do in the face of adversity. Basically, there's a lot of people who would have become disheartened with that situation, but what he did is he turned it around and he was like, no, I'm going to show everyone, I'm going to be the best wrestler in the world, and that's what he's on his pathway to doing. So, it's inspiring stuff. Definitely.
And I think it's when you look at guys as well that are slightly different tinge to it, but like guys like the Young Bucks who don't really want to venture into any sort of major promotion in terms of like WWE, because I think they could go there with the drop of a hat. But
they're changing their tune recently.
Oh, really?
I saw a couple of interviews where it was just basically saying that they're wanted in various places, and if they can, this is in an interview. This wasn't me like chatting to them or anything. So it's like in the public domain. But basically, they were saying that. They were waiting for a company that would be able to, on like an initial offer, beat what they can make on the independents, that's pretty interesting.
I think the thing is, because when you go to NXT, I think you have to take some sort of cut. Because I was listening to Kevin Owens' interview recently, I think with Jericho, and he was saying that initially he had to sort of take a little bit of a cut, but then as soon as you start progressing, which those guys will.
You got to go to uni to be a doctor, you know what I'm saying? Listen, come on, it's the WWE, it's NXT. NXT is the hottest promotion in the world right now. I just think that in this business, I feel certainly that it can't really be about the money. It is about the money, but it's not, Like, I think you have to have an absolute passion for doing it, and those are the guys that cut through and become successful. And I think when Kevin Owens, or Kevin Steen, whatever we're going to call him, was answering that question, I think it's because that was on the periphery to him. Obviously, as he's what he says is true. He wants to provide for his family.
Yeah.
So as long as that's taken care of, but at the end of the day, he wanted to be there, and the main thing was he wanted to be in the WWE. Now, if you get to the WWE, you're getting looked after. You know what I mean?
Oh, of course. And I think I've finally kind of started enjoying the fact that WWE have kind of decided to almost as such embrace. They haven't embraced it completely because they still don't really acknowledge TNA to a degree, but they have started to embrace.
Why would they?
Well, you say that, but then I don't know. Maybe we're sparking a really interesting debate here because when you look at someone like Samoa Joe,
the business advantage for WWE talking about TNA on air.
There isn't one at all.
Exactly. Now, would you say that signing Samoa Joe is acknowledging TNA?
It to a degree, by acknowledging that he is Samoa Joe, could be interpreted in that way, a little bit. I think because it was like what Josh Matthews kind of came out with. He said, that with Sting, if you take an example with Sting, when he moved across to WWE, they said that he was like in obscurity and that he, basically for the last, 10, 15 years, whatever it was, basically Sting just did nothing according to the WWE. But when Joe came across, it was almost acknowledgement, this is Samoa Joe. And I think if it wasn't for what TNA had done for Joe, that reaction wouldn't quite be there.
Well, I think you have to. The thing is, it's like this just reminds me of what I used to be like when I was like. You remember when the whole kind of WCW and ECW versus WWF came about?
Yes.
At that time, I wrote an email explaining why I thought that Raw should become WCW and SmackDown should become WWF and who should fight each other. And I thought this was groundbreaking stuff that no one in the WWF at the time had thought of, So, and that's the thing. It's like we can sit here on the outside and say, criticize, which is fine. Obviously, as fans, we're going to do that. But I think. Thinking about that particular situation, let's say if they did, a lot of the WWE fans might not be aware of TNA's product, so if they have to mention it, they then have to introduce it to those fans, and how much time do you really want to spend to do that in the middle of this program?
Yeah.
That may be the reason, it may not be, but I think there always tends to be a business decision for doing something like that.
And kind of touching on TNA, in comparison to something like NXT, what are your views on TNA's product? Do you watch it, or...?
Here's the thing, I try to watch as much wrestling as I possibly can, but my schedule is pretty insane and it's becoming difficult to do so. So if there's like a particular wrestler that I like or something that I want to see, I'm going to check it out. And actually, like my grandma really likes TNA, so that's pretty cool. And the thing is, she's like what I used to be like when I was a kid, just a complete closet wrestling fan. Like, I'll go over and I'll be like, oh, were you watching TNA? And the reason I'm asking her is because I want to strike up a bit of conversation with my grandma here. But she's like, oh, I mean, it just came on. I was watching my quiz show and it just came on. I meant to turn it off, but, I'm like, Gran, it's okay.
Maybe TNA need to put that in their tagline or something for the older of the audience.
I'm not necessarily saying that, but actually, she does have some interesting insights on wrestling. She doesn't like screwy finishes. She doesn't like it when the refs get battered. She doesn't like it if weapons are involved. She likes the clean cut, and the rules to be obeyed.
Oh, you're very lucky to have such a knowledgeable gran, because my dad just refers back to giant haystacks, and that's as far as he goes, full stop. That's all I get with him.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm unlucky.
In response to like your question about TNA, I take the viewpoint that I think it's fantastic that TNA exists and that there's places for guys to go and pursue this professionally. And, I think, I watched TNA when I was a kid. I remember I watched TNA from 2003. I watched the first ever pay-per-view. I watched it right through. So, when I had the time to watch wrestling, I would watch everything that every single wrestling company put out. And I absolutely loved TNA's product because I felt that I got like my fix of the kind of storyline stuff from WWE, and I got the X Division and the high-flying stuff and your AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels and so on from TNA, and that was really exciting. But on the same token, you remember the Wrestling Channel?
Yes, I do, yeah.
I used to love that.
Tremendous.
Like, I used to, get home from school, turn it on, watch some World of Sport. You get FWA, you had Noah, you had Ring of Honor, you had TNA, you had all these companies going on. It's fantastic to grow up as a wrestling fan with access to the Wrestling Channel. Now you can watch anything that you want at any time. And I think because we're spoiled, we spend less time doing so. But I spent many hours watching the Wrestling Channel. So sorry, long-winded answer. Yeah, I'm all for TNA. Hell yeah.
And what do you think of obviously them coming under almost such the same banner as Ring of Honor now? I personally think when it was first announced, I think everyone was kind of a bit worried that, you know, this is a big issue for TNA. I think from maybe as well from the wrestlers' point of view, it was worrying because they weren't really clued up on what was going on. But now when you look at it as a whole, Ring of Honor, you know, just before TNA, and then obviously on the other channel you've got NXT. I mean, what a fantastic evening. It is. It's like Wednesday Night Wars.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, I'm not even just saying this. Like, I can't get over how great NXT is, and I kind of wish that was around when I was a teenager. Because the thing that NXT does is it provides dream matches. I mean, the other day I was watching Finn Balor versus Rhino, and it's like, when would you expect to see that on WWE television? And I love the fact that it seems to be that there aren't any clear-cut rules anymore, you know. And I'm not saying that there ever was. I can't comment on that. I'm not an employee of the company. But what I'm saying is I feel that they've branched out and they've taken people into the fold that it maybe wouldn't have happened 5-10 years ago, you know. So I think it's a really exciting time, and guys are getting a second chance. And it's not all about being, you know, young and athletic and 21 years old, straight out of uni, having done American football or something like that. And I'm not saying that's what every case was, but there was a pattern, you know.
Well, I think that the most amazing bit at the moment with NXT is when it first started, and you actually go and look back at what it originally was. I mean, it wasn't anything too special. It's a bit embarrassing, a bit cringeworthy.
I'll stop you there. Right. Do you remember when Daniel Bryan faced Chris Jericho?
I do.
On NXT, the original NXT.
Yes, this was the one where they had the sort of cheesy promos as well and things like that, wasn't it? Trying to get them over.
It was at the very start when they had all the competitions and things like that. Chris Jericho and Daniel Bryan had a match, and it blew me away. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then I thought the concept was that you were getting guys from the independents like Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, whatever you want to call him, going against guys like Chris Jericho. You know, that's what I thought the concept was. So initially I was really, really excited by that. But I think it's interesting that NXT now has evolved to somewhat encompass that.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost become its own brand, and that's why it was so shocking when
it has become its own brand. It's drawing like 5,000 plus people. It's getting to the point where it's going to be its own living, breathing entity out on the road, being a great earner for WWE and contributing to the wrestling business and giving lots of different people opportunities. It's super exciting.
Yeah, and I remember I noticed a tweet the other day actually. Someone tweeted Triple H, when will we get NXT going on tour over here in the UK? And he said we're working on it. So this brand is just going to blow up, and it's becoming major competition in a way to obviously the main brand, which is Raw. But I just love how it's evolved over time.
Well, NXT, in my opinion, is something called like a flanker brand, which is basically when a major brand creates its own niche competition. So, like, for example, Coke creates Fanta to capture the people that would never be interested in Coke in the first place. And it's almost like WWE has created NXT to capture independent wrestling. So it's like they've further expanded the market share through this. It's genius.
What did you think when Rhino rocked up as well? What was your initial thoughts? Because I never saw that coming.
Put it this way, like when guys like Rhino and Samoa Joe are debuting in these companies, that's very exciting to me because the attitude that I've had instilled in me by the people that have trained me and by some of the successful wrestlers that I've had the chance to train with and things like that. The attitude I've had instilled in me is to go around and get as much experience in as many different territories as you can. But obviously, like, there weren't too many guys that I was seeing that were going, you know, TNA originals, if you will, going over to WWE. Whereas when I saw Samoa Joe go over, it was like, right. So I just felt that you were able to TNA is an option to go and pursue your craft, and it doesn't mean that WWE is not an option, you know.
Yeah, well, I think that's almost opened the door now because guys like I think Austin Aries contract's up soon, so I would be surprised if WWE aren't interested in him as well.
Well, time will tell.
If you had the opportunity to, and you could pick maybe 3 guys from the British scene to go over to NXT, which 3 guys would you think would fit the mold over there?
Does Zack Sabre Jr. count as a British guy? Because I know he's in Japan a lot.
Oh, we'll count him.
Okay, Zack Sabre Jr. for sure. He is just about I think he's probably the most talented guy in the ring outside of WWE. I just can't think of anyone to top that. In my opinion, when it comes to the type of wrestling I like, that would be my first choice.
Awesome.
Second choice. Oh.
Put you under the cosh here, didn't I?
In British wrestling.
Or just who would you like to see potentially go over there?
Who would I like to see it?
Yeah.
I'd like to see it. That's tough, man. That's a tough question. And the reason, I'll tell you what, Viper.
Right, gotcha.
Are you aware of Viper?
I'm not actually.
Right.
No.
When you're done with this, go and watch Viper. Viper is basically, she is a monster female wrestler, but she's good looking. So she's absolute beast, but guys will find her attractive as well. And I think that she's getting to the point now where she's starting to put it all together. And I genuinely think she could go all the way. And I mean all the way.
Awesome. I will definitely be looking up Viper after the show. So for sure.
Yeah.
So, are you going to get a third one or not?
Third one. Well, is it a cop out to put myself in there?
No, of course. Well, I was expecting you to put yourself in there, to be honest.
Yeah. Gonna have to, just for lack of better options right now.
And I think the We Talkers would agree that you definitely deserve to be over there as well.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's like, if you look at who's making big waves in NXT, it's the guys and the girls who are, well, especially like with Kevin Steen and things like that. It's folks who have a legacy going into WWE, and I think that's the best course of action is for me to go and try and get as much experience as I can, build my brand as big as I can possibly get it, and then make the journey to taking steps closer towards a full-time WWE contract. So, I mean, my goal is to be in WWE before I'm 30. So I want to sign a WWE contract when I'm 29.
Awesome. I was going to say to you, did you get much interaction with Fergal Devitt at all? Because obviously he went to ICW quite a bit, and
it's really interesting. Like, I only tend to speak to the kind of I don't want to say imports, but I guess guys that come over and visit. I mean, I only get the chat. I often only really get to know them somewhere else, just because. Yeah. The thing with Fergal is everyone wants to talk to him. He's a nice guy, and he gets on with everybody. So he's really close friends with everyone. So it wasn't until we were going for a show in Romania, actually, and we had a stopover in Dublin, I believe it was. It was in Ireland anyway, so I didn't pay much attention. We just got picked up from the airport, dropped off at a pub, and then taken back to the airport. But basically, I got a chance to, just sit down with Fergal and ask him some questions and get some advice. And he went well out of his way to give me great advice and help me and stay in touch with me and things like that. So he's a great guy. Like, he definitely, couldn't say enough good things about him. And I'm absolutely delighted for all of his success, as is everyone over here in the ICW locker room. Everyone's delighted for him.
Yeah, I'm a huge Fergal Devitt mark. Just absolutely love everything that he's doing. I think going over to NXT, he just kind of slotted in perfectly. The transition was just so simple.
He's so smart. He's so smart. I mean, the thing is, I was kind of trying to think what road he was going to go down to get himself over, and I didn't realize that it was going to be the body paint thing that was really getting to that level. And it's so smart because he's a walking action figure.
Well, did you think he was going to get to use the paint? Because that was the big talking point when he went over there. Because I was thinking, copyright, WWE don't like all that sort of stuff. But they've manipulated it and they've just made it even better with the whole demon thing. It's brilliant.
Honestly, when he has action figures, they're just going to fly off the shelf.
Oh, they will. They will indeed.
Yeah.
It's awesome stuff. And a question for you, obviously, because we're talking more and more about WWE, and we are getting into the WWE stuff now.
Yeah.
You did make an appearance, didn't you, on WWE TV when they were over here with...
Believe it or not, I've made 6 appearances for WWE.
6? Wow.
And 3 of them have been televised.
That is That is awesome. I saw your one with Rusev and Lana. How did that kind of come about?
Well, I mean, I was lucky enough that I trained in a training school called Source Wrestling School. Mm-hmm. My trainers were, Big Demo.
All right, okay.
Big Demo and Mikey Whiplash.
Yeah.
And they trained me, and then, well, obviously, I'm still, you're always learning, but about 3 months in, this is just, it's like my life was a movie or something. It was almost like, did you ever play TNA's video game?
I did have a copy of it, yeah.
Well, in their career mode, or any wrestling game career mode, when you're creating a wrestler, you start in the gym, and then somebody spots you, and then you get this big opportunity. And it actually felt like that's what was happening to me, because I trained for a couple of months, and then I found out that Robbie Brookside was coming up to do some seminars, and it was going to be week-long seminars. So basically, I got, if you think about ring time in the ring, a lot of people will train maybe once or twice a week for 3 hours, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Robbie Brookside came up and trained with us full-time for over 2 weeks, every day. So you're talking 10 in the morning till 9 at night. I was in there with the person that's a trainer in NXT. And he basically found out he was going to WWE while he was training us. So I was getting the most up-to-date information, and that's what I was excited about. And I got it so early on. I feel that he is a big part of the reason why I've been able to do what I'm doing, is because I got such a good foundation, along with what Damo and Mikey Whiplash did for me as well. I just had such a good foundation, and so basically training as hard as I could, basically just pushing it and trying to open doors and just being positive and working hard and showing that I wanted it, And so I got to go along to just kind of experience it and be there. And the thing is, it's one of these things, like, I can't go into every detail because the wrestling business is somewhat secretive, and it would just be the wrong thing for me to do to sit here and go, oh, I spoke to this person and they said this and then da-da-da. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I appreciate that.
You have to kind of speak in broad terms, but I got the opportunity to go meet everybody, and it was a fantastic experience. And the following year, so I mean, that was before I had a match. This was insane, And so then I got the opportunity to be a long-standing member of the Exotic Express, and I actually brought my own pink suit for that because I kind of found out a couple of days before that's what I was going to be doing. So I was like, right, I need something that is my gimmick, which was the suits, and I was like, but it needs to be outrageous. So I ordered a pink one. Got it delivered next day.
As you do.
Yeah, took it down, and because I was wearing that pink suit, I got to do the segment with Jack Swagger, and where he was grabbing me. And basically, I knew that the boss was going to be watching. So even if all I had to do was look scared, but I was like, damn it, I'm going to be the best scared guy they ever had. So if you want to watch that footage, it's when Adam Rose and Zeb Coulter have a confrontation with Jack Swagger, so you can check that one out. Then the next day we were the Exotic Express again, and we had to catch Vicky Guerrero, which was a lot of pressure. Obviously, precious cargo there. So that was pretty nerve wracking, actually, because it's she's an important person, and you don't want to mess that up. Yeah. So that was great fun. And then got the opportunity to do a series of live events as a Rosebud, and then came the Rusev and Lana segment, which was just, if you can imagine, like, words can't describe how surreal that was. I was thinking to myself, I was like, how often does someone that's A, not contracted, but B, not in NXT, get to come on Monday Night Raw and cut a 2-minute promo? Who gets to do that?
You.
Yeah, exactly. But I couldn't believe it, and I still can't believe it.
It looked. Well, I know from going from it to a WWE Raw event, the crowd is usually electric, so I can imagine it must have been like goosebumps.
Oh, it was, but it was one of those things. Like, I mean, whatever nerves you're feeling and all this and all that, I knew that this was it. I was like, if I mess this up, I've told them that I can do this and I can handle it. If I mess this up, I will never be back. If I mess this up on their flagship television show, my WWE dreams are done, effectively. Whereas if I knock this out the park, I will always be able to say that I was put in the highest pressure situation and was able to deliver word for word what you wanted. And that's what I wanted to do. So it was a nerve-wracking situation, but it was just one of those fight or flight things, and it just had to be done, and it went perfect.
What was the it like doing the actual accent?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, they just asked if I could do a Russian accent. And in that situation, if I learned anything from listening to Stone Cold's podcast, it's when you're asked and you do something, you say, yes, sir. So that's what I did. And I thought to myself, what is a Russian accent? And I just tried to think desperately. And, it just came to me. I just gave it my best shot. And that's what it was.
What I'll do is I'll get these videos together. I'll try and get them all, and I'll put them in a link in the description box below, so everybody can go check them out as well. Because it was awesome. I mean, I'm thinking about it now. The transition from the Exotic Express to them being Russian.
Yeah. Well, again, it was it wasn't something that was meant to happen. I didn't know it was going to be happening. It was just like, who wants it? And my hand went up the quickest, and that's how I ended up there.
Fair play, you've got to take the opportunities, haven't you?
Absolutely, and I would every time from now on. Like, one of the mistakes that I made before wrestling is I lived my life with a bit of hesitation and things like that, but is now you just have to grab every opportunity that comes by. It's a really, really tough, cutthroat business, and you have to grab everything you can get.
No, totally. I can see that as well. I mean, obviously, I'm not in the business, but I work around it with the content and stuff that I do, and it's a hard business to crack to first even get involved in it. So it really is. I mean, I look back on the way things have happened for me, and I've had a lot of luck, but there's been a hell of a lot of hard work as well. And I think that success is always a kind of combination of the two. And I think also when opportunities come your way, which is a sense of luck, it's about being ready for those opportunities. So, it's just I got into ICW at the perfect time. That WWE segment happened at the perfect time, and now I'm going to be wrestling a match that's going to be televised on Challenge TV. We're recording that on Sunday, so it feels like that's happening at the perfect time. So now, once these kind of milestones have happened, I'm now looking to: am I going to America next? Am I going to Japan next? Am I going to Mexico next? What am I doing? Oh, it's amazing! It's amazing how it's all come together.
Yeah, it really is. It just sometimes it's just because the thing is, like, I was doing the band for a long time. Like, I've been trying to do stuff with music for a long time, and just never really had the level of success that I wanted. I mean, we've done some big shows, and I've had like record label meetings and things like that, but it just never quite happened the way that I wanted it to happen. And I think I learned a lot of my lessons about working in the entertainment business in general, and I think that's definitely helped me. So made a lot of mistakes along the way, and sometimes I wish I got into wrestling younger, because I started wrestling like I'm 27 now. Started wrestling when I was 24, just about to turn 25. So, and that was training started then. So I feel I've done a lot in that time, but I still want more. I expect exponential progress, but I've got big goals as well. I've decided I really know what I want to do in my life now. And what I want to do is, I feel that, forgive the tangent, by the way, but I feel that wrestling brings two of like my favourite things together, and that's like combat and... Sorry, 2 seconds, just... Sorry, I thought that was someone coming in there. Combat and entertainment. And I feel that wrestling is a hybrid of the two, but there's never really been anyone that has been able to do wrestling, be successful in entertainment outside of wrestling, but also be legit. And that's the triple threat that I want to aim for, So I would love to have a fight in the UFC or something like that. So right now, I'm training. I'm training amateur wrestling at the moment, And my goal is to get into the next Commonwealth Games. I'm currently ranked number 2 at 97 kilos in Scotland, and if I can get the top spot, which is my goal over the next few months, then I'm going to start working towards qualifying. So that's one of my goals outside wrestling, and I really want to do something with the Lost in Audio album, which is my band, which is going to be coming out in the next few months, and things are kind of picking up there. So I've decided just to, just chase all my dreams at the same time. Why not?
Well, I was going to say, before you mentioned it, I was going to say you're sort of like a man of many talents with obviously the music stuff, but I didn't know about your combat side as well. So, I mean, the more avenues you've got, obviously, and the more goals you've got, you just got to try and reach out and grab them anyway, haven't you? So
yeah, I mean, there's just something that just competing in amateur wrestling and kind of MMA and things like that. I mean, there's just something about it. It's a totally different buzz. And I mean, wrestling's a totally different buzz as well. Like, and music's a different buzz. They're all different, but they're all amazing. And just every time I compete, every time play a gig, every time I go out to the ring, it makes you feel alive,
Before obviously we maybe have a quick chat about Elimination Chamber, I was going to say, what's your views on CM Punk making that move, that transition from WWE to UFC?
You need to be specific. I mean, what is there anything? What specifically?
Well,
it's such a big issue. Like, I mean, it's interesting.
Well, just I think obviously the surrounding of him leaving for starters, because obviously there was the controversy, just sort of there was all that issue with the doctors and that he didn't get the support that he needed, and then him actually just moving into UFC and taking on that challenge. I mean, I think all the best for him to do that, but
I've got mixed views about it, because I feel that look, I don't want to kind of overstep the boundary and comment on because I don't really know the situation, but what I do know is that I feel that despite all the difficulties that he's been through, I feel that wrestling has given him a lot of things in life,
It has.
And I just feel some of the things that have been said is kind of putting down wrestling and kind of burying the business a little bit. And I'm not a fan of that, but I understand, like, people are going to, feel the way they feel due to situations I know nothing about. So I'm not going to comment any more on that, but I just, it was interesting. Cale Sonnen, who's a total hero of mine, said, I wish Punk all the success in the world, but I wish he hadn't done that podcast. And I think that's how I feel about it. I think that I hope that CM Punk does well in the UFC, because it opens up other avenues for guys like, guys in the business who are trying to emulate that success. And I think that it's going to be tough competition. Like, it is. The UFC is like the premier fighting organization in the world. But I think it's, to be honest with you, like, I'd be lying if I said that his move wasn't what inspired me to really up my game with training and things like that. So, I think it's fantastic. And I think, despite what I've just said about, the podcast and things like that, it is creating more opportunities and opening the door for the next wave of talent to come through.
Yeah, I kind of totally agree with what you said, to be honest. That podcast for me just it opened a few doors which just didn't need to be opened. So it would have been best to just maybe let it lie, and it kind of just rattles on, because there's the whole thing about the Divas Championship now, whether or not I think Nikki Bella might be surpassing AJ Lee's record now as Divas champion. So I don't know whether that's just WWE firing back at them. It's, we don't know the full situation, but
well, I mean, I think the thing is, like, Nikki Bella's having great performances right now. I think
she is.
Can't deny that.
Let's maybe have a quick chat then about Elimination Chamber. I believe you've caught the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
And what was your overall thoughts of the show? Because I actually talked about this with my fellow We Talk partner, Smack Talks, and we had a bit of a discussion about it. And I thought it was an okay pay-per-view. I wouldn't say
really?
It
was fantastic. I thought it was unbelievable.
Well, I don't know, maybe I'm just being a bit of a harsh critic on some elements of it. But, obviously for me, the Kevin Owens fight between John Cena was absolutely amazing. And it was something I was always looking forward to. But the chamber matches for me, I think the Elimination Chamber match for the tag belts was great.
Yeah.
I wasn't too keen on the chamber match for the IC title. I just felt there was a little bit... it all felt a bit awkward, and I think bringing out Mark Henry was a bit underwhelming. I think we all expected possibly Bray Wyatt to be the person to come in, and it would have made sense to maybe have him feud, obviously, with Ryback, who eventually won. So I had a few areas where I just thought, I wish that had happened, but I guess I'm one of those fans.
I think the thing is, like, it kicked off with a tag chamber, didn't it?
Yes, it did, and that was good.
Unbelievable. Like, I mean, the stuff that Cesaro was doing in there.
Cesaro.
Yeah,
legend.
It was brilliant. I thought that match was extremely entertaining. It was unique. It had a bit of everything, and it was great. And I think the thing is, like, the thing about WWE is it's there's something for everyone. You can't expect to love every single segment. Mm-hmm. So for me, if I come away from it really seriously enjoying 3, 4, 5+ segments on it, that's been a good event for me. I think that the tag chamber was amazing. I thought the Kevin Owens John Cena match set a bit of a precedent, actually. And I thought that just the twists and turns in that, and even just the little things like for example, when he went for the package pile driver, and it spun him out, it was like, you cheeky, it was like that sort of thing. It was like, and the agility on that moonsault, it was insane.
Well, that's what we talked about on the podcast.
Do you know what else as well?
Go on.
Kevin Owens' promo.
Oh yes,
jumped up in quality after he pinned John Cena. Because the thing is, he can talk and things like that, but it was a different level when he pinned him. Different guy. And he's been a different guy since.
Well, I think the main thing going into this event was if you didn't know who Kevin Owens was, because just be honest, some WWE fans didn't really know much about him. The ones that don't watch the NXT product kind of probably were thinking, who really is Kevin Owens? And it felt like that when he first arrived, but I mean, you definitely know who he is after Elimination Chamber. He was unstoppable, and full credit as well to John Cena, because between them, I'd say it could be potentially like a match of the year at the moment, the way it was done.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved it. The thing is, the match was great. It was something new and exciting, and it was a talking point. So it was interesting. That's the one we were all talking about. So the thing is, it's like, I guess in my mind, I kind of centered my satisfaction rating of the overall show around that, really.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I watched it in Belfast. I was wrestling for Pro Wrestling Ulster over there, and I was sitting with some of the wrestlers, and I mean, we just had an exhausted show, so some of us didn't make it all the way through, but we were just talking about the John Cena Kevin Owens match all the time, but the tag match garnered some of our conversation as well, as did other things, but those were the two that I liked the best, for sure.
I think that was the thing, really, to be honest, with that match being so exceptional. It was the matches that came after it, kind of, you were still recovering. So I think it was the Neville match, because everybody loves Adrian Neville and the skills that he's got, but that match kind of ducked under the radar because you were still catching your breath from the Cena match. So
of course, but that's sometimes the shape that a lineup or a running order has to take. That's the absolute purpose of it. But I mean, I thought that match was good. I enjoyed it.
It was. What did you think of the main event in terms of the twist, which was obviously everybody being very excited that we crowned a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion in Dean Ambrose, then to find out that no.
Well, I actually have to confess, I have to be honest here. There'd been a lot of travelling involved, and after the Owens match, I was like, you know what? It's okay though, because I've got the network. I'm gonna catch this in the morning. So a few of us went to bed, few stayed up. And then I just heard like kind of celebration that Dean Ambrose had won the title. I was like, what? So went through and then found out that he hadn't actually won the title, and it was back to bed.
Yeah.
I'll watch the match. So I went back and watched the match, and I did enjoy it. But it's interesting when you know what's happened. It's just not the same. When it's not live, it's just not the same. So it's hard to judge it for me against the rest of the matches. But I enjoyed what they did, and I think that I like Seth Rollins, but I think Dean Ambrose is something special. I think that he is going to be an absolute top guy. I think like a Roddy Piper type character, the person who's working with the top guy all the time.
He's very different, and it kind of reminds me of what Austin was potentially talking about a little bit with Heyman.
Dean Ambrose is real.
Yeah. It's the way he moves as well. It's different to, like, it's not slick. It's like he's just got. He reminds me a little bit of Austin in that style, that sort of smash mouth, hard hitting action kind of stuff.
It's weird. Like for me, he's just a totally different thing. And I think for someone to be a top guy, like Austin was a top guy, it needs to be approached differently. Do something different. And I think that he does. And I think, there's certain aspects of him that are reminiscent of that. But I think one of the things for me that's different about him is when he's talking, I'm not, I kind of forget I'm watching a wrestling show, and it's like it could be a movie or something like that. And I think that they're starting to push that aspect of it as well, because in the build up, it was like he was backstage and it was looking at him from different angles and things like that. But the way he was talking, it was delivered like a hard hitting drama or a movie, and I think that he's got legit skills in that aspect. And it's exciting stuff. And seeing him with the title, it didn't look out of place.
Yeah, well, it's that feeling. He's like a ticking time bomb, isn't he? You don't really know what you're going to get until he hits you with it.
When I was a kid, I used to hate the whole stealing the title and being like a paper champion thing. Mm-hmm. But the more I followed UFC and followed the likes of Chael Sonnen, and now Conor McGregor's kind of paid tribute to that, the whole 9/10 possession is 9/10 of the law argument. I like it now because I'm the champion because I just took your belt, and I say that I'm the champion.
What I would say is, would you if you were booking it, would you have booked it in the way that they did in terms of having that change or that switch back on the night in terms of the saying of, oh, Dean Ambrose isn't the champion, Seth Rollins is? Or would you have savoured the moment and kept the belt on Ambrose so the crowd went home happy, everyone was loving it? In a way, you'd think as well, lots of people would go and subscribe to the network because it was a network exclusive, and then on Raw the next night, then switch it back. How would you have played it out?
The thing is, there's a logic for each and every decision. Mm-hmm. And it's not like these things are lightly debated. These are kind of hot topics that I'm sure a lot of thought has gone into. The thing is, it is easy for us to sit here and say this is the way it should have gone, but we're perhaps not thinking about a year down the line. Who's to say that what if they wanted, Brock Lesnar to come back and smash everybody to pieces, and they didn't want Dean Ambrose to be on the receiving end of that?
That's true.
That's just one example. Who's to say that if Ambrose won and then he has to lose the next night, does that weaken Ambrose somewhat? So those kind of considerations. And the thing is, perhaps it was a test to see how nuts the crowd would go.
Yeah, it kind of felt a little bit like a test as well. I mean, I think it passed.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'd be a great choice.
It's going to be great, I think, when at some point we're going to get that full three-way of the Shield colliding, but I'm not sure when that's going to be. I hope they save it to WrestleMania, to be honest.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
We got a few questions as well from your Facebook, which is
someone. If you don't have the Twitter ones, I've got them here as well. So
excellent.
I think between us all, we got it.
We have, and I'm going to fire the first question, which I think it's from David McLeod.
Yeah.
He's put. He's put about Elimination Chamber. Besides yourself, who do you think would be ideal in the Elimination Chamber? I think I'm not sure whether he's basing that on British or just all round.
Okay. I'm gonna answer this question with a thought that us as the wrestlers had when we were watching it, and that was we were just because the thing is, it's like we're wrestlers and we're working in the business, but we're all fans at the end of the day as well. We love getting around the TV and watching these shows and kind of talking to each other about it and, fantasizing about what's going to happen and da-da-da-da. At the end of the day, we still love all that stuff. And one thing that we were talking about was, what if Samoa Joe is the last entrant of the Intercontinental Elimination Chamber match? And that's what we were hoping for. So if you're asking that question, that's who I would like to see in an Elimination Chamber.
Was you just because we're talking about that? Was you disappointed with Mark Henry being the choice?
It's one of these things that I just immediately understood why? Rather than be
Big
disappointed
goal.
about it. Because put it this way, if you put Samoa Joe in and then he doesn't win, does that weaken him?
Yeah, it's about that weakness, isn't it? And I think Mark Henry can get away with taking that sort of weak hit. You wouldn't want to devalue someone like Joe. And I said this about Bray, was Bray going in there wouldn't add any value for Bray, but I would kind of love to have seen him in it.
To be honest, I just try to. I think the thing about wrestling is, with myself, and this is a bit off topic, but being a great professional wrestler and being successful in my mind, and again, I've been in the business for a few years, so I might be completely wrong and change my mind about it. But in my opinion, it is about being able to get yourself over under the worst possible set of booking circumstances. Not the best one, because anyone can get over there, or just about anyone, you know what I mean? But can you get over in the absolute worst case scenarios? So for me, I don't know, I just try not to think about oh, this should have been done this way or that been done that way. I just try to think how can you make the best of that situation type thing.
Yeah, and I think sometimes you do. I think it's just because when you're a fan, you magically come up with all these scenarios, don't you? That's the trouble.
Of course, yeah, and it's exciting to do that.
Another question for you. This one's from Stephanie McComb. Was who would you fight in a street fight from WWE?
It depends. Are we talking about an actual street fight with no fans around, or are we talking something that is being observed by people?
I'm not sure how.
Well, this is how they differ, because I've realised now, I'm an idiot not to fight without getting paid. You know what I mean? If I'm going to be in a street fight, I want paid. So if it's in a kind of two guys just mad at each other having a brawl, I'll probably sidestep that one, to be honest with you. But if there's a money-making opportunity involved, it's going to be the biggest, baddest dog in the yard, and that is going to be either Brock Lesnar or John Cena. And I'm not saying I can go in there. Put it this way, I would accept the challenge. I would love something like that. And yeah, I'd get slaughtered if I fought Brock Lesnar, but it'd be an experience, right?
Well, you got to give it a go, ain't you? I don't know. Actually, to be honest, I don't fancy going in there with Brock Lesnar. I think I'll avoid that one if I was given the option.
Well, why not? Apart from death, what's the worst that can happen? If you do die, at least you went out with a bit of pride,
Have Matt Hardy's logic. Is it stronger than death?
Yeah. I don't think death's stronger than Brock Lesnar, though. So.
No. The next question is from David R. Brown. If you could have a match with anyone involved in WWE's roster today, who would it be, and what kind of match would you like to have with them? That's a difficult one because that's a huge spectrum to go through. That.
Anyone involved in WWE? It'd have to be The Rock.
The Rock is I'd say he's probably one of my favourites.
The reason is because The Rock is basically the reason I'm as big a fan as I am. Is basically one of the reasons I got into the business. Just because the thing about The Rock is, if you show someone a random moment in professional wrestling, some of them are like, I don't really get it, if they're not a fan. But if you show someone one of The Rock's promos, whether they're a fan or not, they find it entertaining, they get it, they understand it. To me, all my friends were Stone Cold fans, and I love Stone Cold as well, but I was a Rock guy through and through. To me, he was the top guy, and I'm interested in facing the top guy. So to me, that's, if you're talking about, it'd be a main event WrestleMania with The Rock for the title. That is the ultimate goal, really.
That sounds awesome. I mean, The Rock, like you say, if you ever show anyone a segment, 9 times out of 10, everyone knows The Rock's catchphrases anyway. It's just...
Yeah.
And so that would be for a championship, would it? Would that be your stipulation as well?
Well, if you're giving me free reign, yeah, chuck the WWE Heavyweight Championship in there.
Have you got some Twitter questions as well? I think there was one that was very specific to the chamber about Dolph Ziggler. I think
I better answer one actually. There's one just came through on the Facebook. Someone says, "Would you wrestle in Norway if given the opportunity?" Yes, I would. There we go. Someone else said, Keith and myself once invited you to see WWE live, which is true. They Facebook messaged me and said, listen, this is weird, but do you want to come and see WWE? We'll pay for your ticket. I was like, that's pretty cool, man. But I had amateur wrestling training, so I had to decline. But the second part of their question was, if you had gone, would drinks and hot dogs have been on you? And my answer would be, absolutely not. Drinks and hot dogs as well.
You just broke their heart.
Yeah, well, I'm an athlete here. I can't be eating hot dogs. I'd eat a hot dog.
That's my favourite question.
Yeah. So, sorry, Twitter questions.
Yes, Twitter questions. One of the Twitter questions was it was about Dolph Ziggler. Views on Dolph Ziggler being so vocal during the match, the Elimination Chamber match. That was the first part. There's multiple parts to this question. So yeah. I don't know if I really noticed a huge amount. I think in some of the matches I did notice a lot of talking, but I didn't pinpoint Ziggler as the main piece.
I mean, the thing is, it's like, I'm not going to sit here, having started wrestling in 2013, and tell Dolph Ziggler how to do his job. You know what I mean? I think he's got it covered. But I think that, with regards to him being quote unquote vocal in the match, that's just, I would just say try not to focus on that sort of thing, and try and figure out the story that they're telling. Try and lose yourself in it. Try and get engrossed in it. If you're looking out for stuff like that, you're not going to enjoy it. So I would say, leave that stuff alone. Is Booby mad?
Yeah, it's a real awkward one to kind of judge, isn't it? I think, unless you're in that situation as well.
I mean, I'm. That's the thing as well. Like, having been in, things go wrong in the ring all the time, every night, and you just have to react to it the best that you can. Yeah. And at the end of the day, these guys are at the top of their game, putting on the best possible show for the fans. So I guess with the being vocal during a match, I need to go back and really look at that to understand. But I don't know, I just kind of switch off my brain to looking for things like that. It's like kind of, it's like if you watch a TV show, don't look for these little things. Try and lose yourself in it. Suspend your disbelief.
Yeah. No, I agree. That question was from Simon. That's his Twitter tagline.
Yeah. He's also said, how good was Cena versus Owens?
Yes.
And again, we covered that. Like, I thought it was unbelievable. And like he says, I think Cena's amazing. Like, it's almost like, how can you argue against Cena being the best of the last decade?
Is that the best entertainer or best? Because there's that debate. There's the debate about the rest.
Let's go through it,
side.
Right? Well, let's tackle it right now. So what do you mean? There's that side of it.
Well, I'm not going to say. I would not sit here and say that John Cena is the best wrestler. That would be my view on it. I think he does a hell of a lot for the business, and I credit him for everything that he does. Obviously, the way he puts over some of the guys he's doing at the moment, but I still wouldn't label him as the best wrestler.
Well, what makes a good wrestler?
Well, I'll give you my comparison, and then I could be wrong, but I just look at someone like Shawn Michaels. That for me is the greatest wrestler, and I don't think Cena has the attributes that a HBK did. So I always look to that as my sort of standard. Which
and I get that, but what I would say, devil's advocate, I would say is, I would challenge you to count how many great feuds John Cena's had. Great feuds. And who has had as many great feuds? Who's created as many moments? If you think about big moments, he's at the center of pretty much all. If you think about, even from, when RVD won the title.
Oh, that's one of the best. One Night Stand was freaking amazing.
Title. When Edge cashed in the Money in the Bank. When CM Punk walked out the company with a belt.
Yeah, he's involved in a hell of a lot, and I obviously recognise that. I think that's just where I fall down a little bit in terms of the wrestler word. I
think it's when you say wrestler, I think about the whole package and putting it together. If you're talking about the whole package, putting it all together, everything that a wrestler is, John Cena is the best right now.
Yeah, he's the marketing dream, isn't he, as well? So
yeah,
he's everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, me and my brother, we're addicted to we go on Netflix, right? And we just watch, the lowest rated stuff, right? I watched this film, Fred. You ever seen it?
I only know one Fred. Is it the one?
Absolute. He's a YouTuber guy, right?
Yeah, the one with the high pitched voice.
Painfully unbearable.
Yeah.
Those bits were funny as hell.
I can't believe you watched that.
Yeah, watch that, man. I know I don't have time to watch wrestling, but
So that's something everyone didn't know.
yeah, there you go.
I mean, I think we kind of covered all of Si's questions. The only one that I would say as well that he did say was, did you think the rematch announcement was too soon?
I think it's interesting though because, like, if you look at look at the UFC, right? If someone got beat like that, I'd be like, I want a rematch and I want it now. That's what John Cena would say.
Yeah, it's true. And plus the booking at the moment, everything's coming really thick and fast. Like the pay-per-view turnaround at the moment is we're just like a couple of weeks away from Money in the Bank. So there's not time really.
I'll be honest with you. Like, put it this way: now knowing that's going to be on the card, I'm more excited about Money in the Bank than I was.
Well, that's the sell, isn't it?
Keep going. Because think about how big that match was, how many big moments there were in it. They're going to have to top that now, and that the pressure's not on us there. The pressure's on them. We can just sit back and enjoy it. So I'm all for it.
Definitely. I'm hoping that we get Owens 2-0, but I don't think so. Playing.
Hey, did you think that was going to happen though?
Nope.
Did you think if I told you that before? So when did Kevin Owens debut?
It's not long ago. It's I actually listened to his podcast.
Debut on NXT. We're talking like 3-4 months or something.
I'd say it was about that. Yeah.
It's insane. What if I told you like 6 months ago, right before he'd been seen, he's going to beat the top guy in the company in a marquee pay-per-view match clean?
I would say you're insane.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you just can't tell, can you?
No.
Expect the unexpected.
Absolutely.
So, the Austin podcast? What did you think of the overall final segment of that with the teasing? I would say it's teasing of Austin versus Lesnar. That it was kind of interesting the way it was done because I never expected, and it's whole expect the unexpected, but I never expected Austin to come across the way that he did, which was pretty. He sold it perfectly. The way he was hacked off and didn't want to talk to Heyman anymore because Heyman had fired questions that he didn't really like, and
Austin is unbelievable in that respect.
The master.
He did the same when he sat across from CM Punk as well. The great thing about Stone Cold is he's really funny and entertaining and lighthearted, but he just flicked the switch like that and went straight over back into Stone Cold. And it was very smart the way that he separated his persona with Stone Cold and saying, well, if you want to go to Stone Cold, let's go to Stone Cold, but you might not like the consequences type thing. So I thought it was brilliant the way he separated the two. Also, I thought the way he set up the match was perfect. It was genius. Because if you think about the casual fan is going to look at Brock Lesnar and, you know, some would say the prime of his life, he's basically, give or take Cain Velasquez, he's the baddest guy on the planet in his prime. And Stone Cold is 50 years old. So you might get people who don't buy that. But Brock Lesnar was, you know, the baddest guy on the planet in the UFC, not in a Texas death match, which is, Texas death match has been billed as somewhat of a Stone Cold speciality. And like he said, I'm not going to fight him where it benefits him. I'm going to bring him to my level. I'm going to fight him in my fight. And that made it more interesting for me.
Yeah, I thought the way that he sold it, and it was kind of perfect with Heyman because Heyman was playing that, that whole trying to unsettle Austin with the old text messages. Who's this going to be? Like trying to rattle Austin's cage, and I think the way those two bounced off each other was just awesome. And even the bit at the end as well with Austin, where it was like with Heyman, it was like, shall I get up and go? Shall I just leave? Because you were enjoying this podcast until we got into the final few questions. It was just masterful, and it's a great work. It's just brilliant.
If that match goes ahead, that'll just be seismic. That could be the biggest match ever, really.
Well, they've got to put something huge on, obviously, to fill that stadium, haven't they? So that's the match really that could do it, and then maybe add Rock Triple H, which they've teased before.
You know what? If that's the way it's going down, if I ain't
You're going.
if I ain't an employee, I'm going as a fan.
Well, it's the dream at the moment. Some of the matches they're teasing, and like I say, maybe get Shield triple threat on there as well.
You're selling it to me. They should get you doing the marketing. I'm going to buy a ticket here.
I would love to go. I've been talking about it with my mates, but I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, I wanted to touch on that final segment of the Austin podcast because I just wanted to get your views on it. And then I don't know. Do you play WWE 2K15 at all?
You know what? I don't. I got to be honest. I used to play the games religiously. I spent, I can't even count the hours that I put into the video games. All the way back from, Warzone to Attitude to SmackDown to No Mercy to, the WWE games. But I think my favourite of all time is possibly Fire Pro Wrestling for the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few people mention that one, but I've never got the chance to
play gameplay. It's the gameplay is just unbelievable. For me, there's never been a game engine that's captured wrestling as well as that for me.
See,
that's kind of uber fan. Like I think if you're just getting into it, SmackDown 2.
Yeah, everyone loves the old SmackDown. Here Comes the Pain. SmackDown, Just Bring It. Those were like the golden ones.
Know Your Role.
Know Your Role. Yes, that was PlayStation 1, wasn't it?
It was indeed. Yeah.
Yeah,
I actually I made RVD in that game, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to get him all the belts. And what you did is you could get the belt on your created character by doing exhibition matches for the title.
Right.
And then you could do that and then go into a season. So you could start the season mode with the titles. So I got RVD everything. But in order to get him the light heavyweight belt, I had to make him a light heavyweight. Because the light heavyweight could win the light heavyweight and the heavyweight. So I made him a light heavyweight, won all the belts, and then in a kind of backstage segment, Stone Cold comes up behind me, just lays me out, pins me and takes the belt, and I've got no control over it. Because I made RVD a light heavyweight, I couldn't challenge for the heavyweight again in season mode. So yeah, that's my only gripe with SmackDown 2.
What a screw job.
I know.
I mean, it's. I was gonna say, but it looks like this match will never happen. I was gonna say it was gonna be possibly an opportunity to have my created superstar, Dashin Delzinski, against a Joe Hendry created. So I've seen one on. I think it's on either the PlayStation or the Xbox. So someone's been creating you on there.
Yeah, one of them's unbelievable. One of them's like, that's my face. And one of them is terrible. I'm sorry, but it's terrible. It's like generic wrestler 5 walking to the ring as well. Just like, no custom ring music or anything, but one of them that somebody did was just off the chain.
Oh, there are a few of them on there.
Yeah, no, it's worth a look. There's a lot of the ICW guys in there, which is cool.
Yeah, I've just got into the whole modding side of because I've got the PC version of 2K15.
Right.
And
so how does that open up the game?
Well, you can pretty much mod the entire game if you know like binary coding and stuff like that. You can basically change all the arenas in WWE 2K15. So you could try and put an ICW arena in there. You could create all the ICW stars, replace the Titantrons that aren't in there. So, for example, let's say I created Finn Balor. I could go and put in his Titantron into the game because you just drop it. So with a PC version, there's a multitude of things that you can do. It's just knowing.
It's just the future, isn't it? It creates games within games. It's just.
It does. So I've just started out learning that some of it is pretty tricky, and then other elements of it are like I'm good with the Titantron so far, but haven't got as far as changing arenas around yet. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
So I was going to say to you, gaming-wise, did you want to discuss any sort of gaming information as well?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean the big talking point is that ICW are actually in the process of developing a video game, and it is super exciting. I mean, I unfortunately haven't been able to see the actual wrestling. What's been released thus far is screenshots of the arenas, and it's awesome, man. You've got like the Barrowland Ballroom in there. You've got the Glasgow Garage. You've got the ICW Asylum, which is like the office where they do all the business stuff in the rings there. It's so authentic for the detail in this game is unbelievable. There's people going around taking pictures of, like light switches and, signs and things like that. Every detail of the garage is in there. And it was like, I remember they missed out like one poster or something like that and went back and had to get it right. It's so detailed, it's so authentic. And I mean, at the shows now, there's like a booth where they come along, you stand in it, and they take photos of your entire body, and they're putting us in the game. So the detail that they're going to get everything right, to our faces, to our ring gear, to our moveset, it's just unbelievable. So I'm excited about what we're going to see of the game engine. I believe the concept is it's a throwback to No Mercy with an ICW roster, which is, you can't really get better for that. Independent wrestling.
Everybody loves No Mercy. That engine was the one that everyone loved. So yeah. I mean, yeah, you can't really go wrong. Is it gonna get as insane as it possibly can?
It looks pretty insane already. Like, I mean, even like just going through the menu screens and things, it was like, this is a proper game. This is good. This is the thing that excites me. Mm-hmm. Is think about independent wrestling and think about all the people that we could have in the game. Think about all the people that have walked through the doors of ICW. Let's think about, like, for example, even in the last couple of months, in the last couple of years, there's guys who are in NXT who have been through ICW. Brian Kendrick, Finn Balor, Rhino.
Are they all going to be in the game?
No, they're not going to be in the game, but my point is, imagine the game was around when these people came through the first time. What if we had the chance to snap up that talent the first time? So what I am saying is you never know who's going to make an appearance in ICW this time and then end up in NXT. You might have star worldwide household names in this game. And if you don't, then you can go on and create a wrestler. Because I'm sure that mode's going to be fantastic as well. But I have spoken to the boss at ICW, Dallas, the boss, and he has assured me that we will be able to give you first dibs on all the content regarding the game and things like that. More info coming soon, but we will make sure your channel is well supplied with information when it's available, such as roster reveal, gameplay footage, things like that.
Well, that will be fantastic, and I'm sure every single one of my subscribers will love to hear the information and the updates regarding the ICW game, because I mean, again, at the end of the day, it's another game and another wrestling game for us to sink our teeth into, and it just adds a new dimension. ICW coming to the game in waves. It's going to be quality.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I just I think it's great because like I've met the guy that's making the game, and the level of passion that's going into this, the level of detail is unbelievable. And I mean, if you think about it, like you say, there's too many times in video game history when there's people stumble upon genius and then they just let it be and think, oh no, we need to create something new, we need to da-da-da-da. Think about like Final Fantasy VII. Dude, just make it again. Just make it again. Stop. I don't want Final Fantasy 27 with Jimmy Bob Jr. as my main character. I want Cloud. I want Barrett. I want Big Teeth. That's what I want. Go make it. That's what we're doing with this game. We're not trying to recreate the wheel with the engine here. We love No Mercy. We want No Mercy. And that's the style of engine that we're going to get. Why mess with something if we know that it works? Do
you know what formats possibly?
Hey, I'm going to hold back some of the details for now.
Cool. No, that's all good. It's the teaser is good enough.
Exactly.
It's going to be awesome. And I think that is almost the perfect way to bring today's podcast to a close. I mean, have you got any sort of, I always do this with every We Talk, any sort of shameless plugs that you'd like to go and put out there as well?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Asked the wrong guy that question. Basically, just what we've been talking about, just want to say thanks to everyone for listening. This is kind of the first time we've done this sort of style of podcast where it's kind of like, talking about a WWE event and things like that. So it's been interesting for me. Thanks very much for having me. What'd be great is if you can kind of keep up with my Twitter and my Facebook. My Facebook is just Joe Hendry Local Hero, because I will be going back to Local Hero. Global Hero was meant to just be a joke because I appeared on WWE TV, and then we got 50 zillion t-shirts printed that I need to get sold. So they were sold a while ago, so now it's time to go back to Local Hero, I think. But so if you can follow me on Joe Hendry Local Hero on Facebook, and on Twitter, it's twitter.com/Joe S. Hendry. So that's where you can keep up to date with everything. Really exciting projects that are going on for me right now is, obviously ICW, that's my home promotion. That's where, I should have done that, home promotion. That's what I should have said. That's where, that's where my home is, and there's really exciting stuff going on. I can't believe you didn't mention it. Mick Foley is going to be the commissioner for ICW.
Yes, we should have mentioned that. We've mentioned it now.
That's your fault. You're the host.
I know.
But no, that's huge news.
It is huge news. How awesome is that going to be? The hardcore legend rocking.
Absolutely. We're starting to bridge the gap between. If you look at what ICW was a couple of years ago, it was this great underground local promotion. Whereas now, if you look at Fear and Loathing, which is coming up in November, at the SCCC, that's an insanely huge venue with stars like Mick Foley coming over. Come on. ICW is about to break through in a big way. ICW is the hottest promotion in the continent, and it's exciting times. I mean, I can't wait for what's going to unfold. So that's pretty exciting. So keep up to date with all that stuff. Also, promotion I love wrestling for is Pro Wrestling Ulster. Keep up with that. That's just a great fun promotion that I love going over and seeing. NGW is a big focus for me right now. Again, went down, wrestled one show for them, and then they just opened up this opportunity for me. I wasn't meant to be doing it. They gave me the opportunity to wrestle on TV, on terrestrial TV, on Challenge. Now my gran can see me wrestle because of NGW, so I'm grateful for that, and Wrestle Talk. So that's exciting stuff as well. Also, I mean, there's just so many promotions you should check out. Like I said, Discovery Wrestling, go check that out. Reckless Intent. You got to check out SWE. I'm going to start annoying people here because you do this thing where you start reeling them off and you make the mistake there because you're just never going to name them all. So just check them all out. Check them all out. So, no, but I'm having an absolute blast just kind of making my way through the professional wrestling business. And the thing that really stands out to me is how awesome the fans are. The level of interaction. I've never experienced anything like this. When people say it's the best business in the world, I wholeheartedly believe that. The level of positivity that I've had from people, like honestly, I've had hardly any negativity from people. It's just like it's positivity from people who are super supportive and appreciate the work that we do, and it's a great life, man. It's a hard life because mixing the job and this and that and da. But I ain't moaning. It's a great life, and I'm just delighted to be here doing what I'm doing, and I hope to entertain wrestling fans on continue to do it on a bigger and bigger scale for the next 10 plus years.
Well, it's been absolutely awesome having you here today. I mean, I'm just appreciative that you came on We Talk today to have a chat with me, and make sure you do go check out all the details that Joe's just put out there, and I will be linking his Facebook and his Twitter in the description section of the YouTube video as well, so make sure you do go check everything out.
Also, on that note, if you haven't seen my music video, go watch that. That's where you should start if you want to check me out. Just Google my name, Joe Hendry, watch that, then watch the Burger Eating Challenge, and you'll be caught up.
No, that music video is awesome, by the way.
Man, it's crazy like that. That song was done in legit like 2 hours or something. Like, because at the time, that's all the studio time I could afford. So we just did it, went in, did their best, and then went into the video in a few hours as well. And it just turned out the way it did, and it was brilliant. Loved it.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it in a previous We Talk, and I think I linked it as well. And I got a few people checking it out, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. So hopefully we get a few more on there as well.
Yeah, trust me. We just did, I'll tell you, here's another link for you. I just did, it's called What If Joe Was One of Us? And it's, there's some product placement in there. That's worth checking out. I'll give you a link for that. But, I've not said this anywhere, but over in July, I will debut 2 new songs.
Oh,
One of them will have a video, and one of them will be my entrance to the big ICW show that's coming up this summer.
wow.
July 26th, I believe.
Big news.
Big news.
Big news.
Big news.
And on that bombshell, that draws us to a close today. And yeah, I am going to supply all the links in the description box below. So I guess all that's left to be said is, Joe, do you want to say goodbye to the Wee Talkers?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks very much for listening to us. It's been great. Really enjoyed it. Hopefully do this kind of thing again. And yeah, please, if anyone wants to know anything, fire me any questions, and we'll didn't give you a lot of notice this time, so sorry, but we'll give you a bit more notice next time. Thanks very much for listening.
Yeah, we definitely would love to have you back on the show. So yeah, hopefully we make this happen again. And all that's left to be said is please rate, comment, and subscribe. And this is Delzinski and Joe Hendry signing out.
Hi, wrestling fans and gamers. Velvet Sky here, and I just want to say I've been hearing a rumor that Delzinski.com is the best place for video gaming and wrestling content. Now, if you're a wrestling fan and a hardcore gamer like myself, then I suggest you check out Delzinski.com. You will not be disappointed. Holler!